everyone. I'm Jim Longworth, and welcome to another edition of Triad Today. Coming up later on, our infamous roundtable convenes, and we'll see what kind of controversies they get into. But between now and then, some great guests and important information coming your way. For example, we'll tell you about one local company that's celebrating a big anniversary. And we'll have a conversation with a retiring CEO who's given a lot to the community over many years. All that and much more coming your way. But first, we turn our attention to an organization that does great work throughout the region, and to the gentleman that heads that organization up. Next to me, our good friend, Art Gibble, who is CEO of Goodwill Industries of Northwest North Carolina. Good to see you again, sir.
See you, Jim.
Art, most folks know, I think, that, hey, I know exactly where I can go to donate a household item or clothing. I know where my little Goodwill outlet is. Some people know that there's some retail stores they can buy things from Goodwill. And some people also know that they've been directly helped through your workforce development programs. Now, taking all those three elements together, pull those together for me. Tell me how they're related and interrelated to form your mission.
Yeah. So I donate these clothes to Goodwill. Goodwill sells those clothes to you. You buy them. We make a profit on that sale. We take that profit and reinvest it into workforce services, okay, and help people get jobs.
Right. And that includes the job training, the seminars, the things where they get you in front of employers, prospective employers, and doing classes and all sorts of things. It's a great program. I want to hone in for education for just a minute. Under your leadership, Goodwill has advocated for high school students in a number of ways. Tell me a little bit about what that's all about.
Yeah, our mission is really three parts, and you're hitting on the first part: education, training, and employment. And that education, we actually tackle it a couple of different ways. When you think about the economy today, the biggest differentiator of success and income is level of education or certification. And in this city right now, 85% of our kids graduate from high school, which is a great improvement, but 15% are still not graduating. So when you look at it and you add up all those years, the number of people who need a second chance to get that high school education, because if you don't have a high school diploma, you can't go to college.
Right.
Or even Forsyth Tech, you can't get in without a high school diploma. So we offer people a second chance. Anybody over the age of 18 in our county can come to Goodwill in a partnership that we have with Forsyth Tech, and we operate what's called the Access Center Adult High School. Anybody over the age of 18. So you have two Forsyth Tech instructors on site in the computer lab there to assist the students. We have what I would call a guidance counselor on steroids.
Yeah.
A Goodwill employee to keep those students on track, coming back. This year we'll graduate over 50 people, giving them a second chance. Our oldest graduate last year was 65 years old.
Wow.
But anybody, the primary age group that we have is generally folks that are in the high 20s and mid-30s.
And they're coming out with an honest-to-goodness diploma.
This is Forsyth County, Winston-Salem Forsyth County School District. This is not GED or high school equivalency.
Right. And you mentioned Forsyth Tech. Before we leave that topic, what does that really mean to you, that partnership, and how does it benefit the entire community?
Yeah, it's been great. For decades, we've had a great partnership with Forsyth Tech. We actually partner with 10 other community colleges across our region. But with Forsyth Tech, we operate a lot of training classes in our building with Forsyth Tech instructors. So they provide the curriculum, the instructors, we provide the location, the equipment, and the wraparound services to help that person get a job.
Yeah.
And this is great for Forsyth Tech because it allows them to get off their campus and stretch into the community.
About 30 seconds left. What's 2020 hold for us? What do you expect?
Yeah, another great year. We're going to open up our second Access Center Adult High School up in Asheville with AB Tech Community College. We'll open up a new store in Marion, and we fully expect to be well over helping 5,000 people to secure employment.
That's just fantastic. Up on screen, the website you can go to for more general information, goodwillnwnc.org for the radio listening audience, goodwillnwnc.org. Art Gibble, you do a great job, and I mean that, sir, and thanks for all you do to help the community. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you, Jim.
All
appreciate
right.
it.
We'll be right back after this. Now on Triad Today, and here we are in the holiday season. I can't think of anybody I'd rather have sitting with me right now than my good friend Sheila Jones, who's Director of Marketing and Public Relations with Mountain Valley Hospice and Palliative Care. Good to see you again.
Thanks.
First of all, before we get into some things I want to ask you about hospice and hospice care, give us a thumbnail sketch for people that don't know, maybe they just moved in the area. What is hospice and who do you serve?
We provide care for those with a limited life expectancy of 6 months or less, or maybe someone who has a serious illness. We do that in 17 counties, North Carolina and Virginia, Surrey and Yadkin, and anything that touches those, and then Care, Grayson, and Patrick above the Virginia line, and anything that touches those. And
it's not just care for a terminally ill patient or somebody that's chronically ill and headed that way. The families are involved too, and you're helping them, right?
Yes, the families we use a team approach, so that we have a team of people, nurses, chaplains, social workers, the whole medical team that takes care of the family as a whole. The caregiver is just as much as a part of that care as the person receiving the care.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that, because you and I don't talk about that when we get together. We don't talk about the respite care too often, but most people who are hospice patients, like my parents did, receive hospice care in their own home. You do have 2 beautiful hospice homes, but most people do receive care at home. And there's something called respite care that you offer, and I think it involves some volunteers and other staff, but let's explain to the folks what that means.
One of the biggest things is that anyone under hospice care can receive what we call a respite stay at one of our facilities or any inpatient facility. So for 5 days, if the caregiver's just struggling because they're tired, and that happens, they're taking care of patients 24/7. We can put the patient in the facility, care for them for 24/7 for about 5 days, and then we can bring them back out, and things can help them have that little bit of rest. It can be a planned stay, such as maybe the caregiver is the patient's the mother and the caregiver's the daughter, but the granddaughter's getting married and she needs to be able to have time to do those things. We can put
gives the caregiver
patient
a break.
The patient can be cared for so that the grandmother, the daughter can do what they need to do for the wedding.
You know what I think?
Plan, vacation, same thing.
Well, that's true. And I remember you telling me this a long time ago. Another thing I think is really neat, which sort of goes along the same thing of helping families and patients, pet peace of mind. What is that all about?
Well, think about the little lady who has had this lap dog since her husband died. And she's had this lap dog for 7 years, and now she's got to go into the hospice home to get her pain under control. Who's going to take care of Fluffy? So Fluffy is left to either be there by themselves or boarded or whatever. But most of the time, it's that patient that's their baby too, so they're going to refuse to go or not want to go. So we have a network of volunteers, as well as a network of veterinarians' offices who help us out by that. We can foster that animal while that patient's in the hospital or hospice home. We can sometimes we even spay or neuter that animal to get it ready to find a forever home once that patient passes, because the family may not want it. There's many things we can do in that Pet Peace of Mind program.
And of course, Mountain Valley Hospice is a non-profit organization. It's the holiday season. Tell me some ways that people can help through either donations, or I think there's something special they can purchase nowadays. Tell me some ways we can help.
Well, some of the biggest ways we can help, of course, is make a donation to help us care for our family. Think about it. We are blessed that we're not able to turn anyone away based on an inability to pay. We provide that service. They just have to have a terminal diagnosis and agree to services. We have our development department who helps us with fundraising and different things. Big
events, fundraising
and we call
events.
that having grateful families that we've served can make a gift, as well as, like you said, purchasing the ornament, donating stuff to our resale shop, as well as, volunteering. New Year's coming up.
Volunteering is something you always need volunteers. I'm thinking New Year's is just around the corner too.
It is.
Is that something you want people to think about as a resolution? Or?
Don't wait till New Year's. Come on now.
Come on now.
Come on now, because you can make an impact. It's a few hours of training. We can help you with, you can help patients with running errands, maybe hanging out at the house while the loved one goes to run an errand. I mean, somebody's got to go to the drugstore. Somebody's got to go to the grocery store.
Right.
Be that volunteer to be at that home and let that caregiver do that.
Nothing better than a hospice volunteer,
and
folks.
I promise you will get way more back than you give.
Absolutely. And up on screen is some information I really want everybody to have and pay attention to. mtnvalleyhospice.org. That's the website, www.mtnvalleyhospice.org. You can also call toll-free 888-789-2922, which I believe that's on screen as well. It covers a large area. They serve a lot of good folks, do a lot of great things, and you can set up a time to do a consultation, to talk with somebody, part of Sheila's team, or you can find out about purchasing the ornament. Is that right, too? Making donations, that kind of thing. Sheila Jones, happy holidays to you, and we'll see you on the other side.
Thank you.
All right, dear. Thanks a lot. We'll be right back after this. On Triad Today, always glad when we can visit with this lovely lady when she drops by every once in a while, but particularly pleasing today because we're going to talk about a special anniversary that she and her company are celebrating. Next to me, Kimberly Roberts, who is Executive Vice President and Chief Marketing Officer for Crumley Roberts Attorneys at Law. Welcome, dear.
Thank you.
Good to see you again.
Thank you so much.
All right, so I've already sort of let part of the cat out of the bag. You guys are celebrating a significant milestone. Tell me about it.
We are. At Crumley Roberts, we are celebrating 30 years of standing up for our clients, for our community, and for each other, and caring like family, listening to learn, and doing what's right. So this has been a really exciting year for us, and we're headed into another exciting year ahead. So
I think I saw a poster or a billboard or something that's going to go up. It's going to say 30th or whatever.
See
like
our
that.
30 years strong.
That's just
yeah.
great. Well, that says a lot, though, seriously, about, you know, staying power and what you're doing and your mission and all that.
Yes.
Now, you've been with Crumley Roberts for 20 of the 30 years.
Right.
Although you still look 15 to me, but
Thank
if you
you.
say you've been there, if you say you've been there 20, I'll believe it.
You're kind.
What are the biggest challenges you've seen during that period, those 2 decades?
That's a good question. I think for us, I think my husband Chris would probably say this, and most everyone at Crumley Roberts, we're in a very personal industry where we're walking people through some of the most difficult and challenging times of their lives.
Yeah.
And it hurts us to see them suffer. They are thrown suddenly and unexpectedly into a new future. And we understand that there's no amount of money that can ever restore them to where they were in the moments before that accident. So it is very hard when it's so personal and so intimate, and we really feel empathy for the people that we're trying to help.
And on the flip side, what have been the greatest joys for you over the 20 years?
I think the greatest joys have been when we have been able to make a difference, when we've really walked the walk over and over again, when we've seen the joy in the community programs, giving the scholarships, seeing the children light up as they're poured into by our Crumley Roberts Kids Zone team, and the people that we have been able to help.
Yeah, you've
and
done
in
a lot
those
toward,
moments, we were able to make a difference in their lives.
Sure, I mean, you've helped prevent injuries just by doing the safety rodeos and things for the kids and their parents, who you've sort of enlightened about how to do helmet safety and all that stuff. What do you have planned for the next 30 years? That's what I want to know.
I think we'll keep moving forward. We'll keep trying to help as many people as we can. We'll keep doing as much good for as long as we can. And we'll keep moving the brand forward and maybe moving into new territories so we can help even more people, more clients, and in more communities.
When you think about it, I guess, and this is something I've never asked you, I don't know why, but I'll ask you now, who or what inspired you early on to want to end up serving people and doing community service, this type of thing?
That's a great question. I think my parents, my family, the community I grew up in Rockingham, North Carolina, all the wonderful people I knew along the way. I think I learned from them, learned who I wanted to be, and just sort of kept moving forward. So I really celebrate every person that I've known along the way. I know that they're a part of me, but I really want to thank my mother and father, who just instilled a sense of value in me and this understanding that it really is our duty and our honor to help people along the way.
Absolutely, and you do it in so many ways. You mentioned the scholarships, which I don't want to de-emphasize. It's very important because they have different categories of scholarships, and we've talked about them on the show before. We'll talk about it again. You have the Roberts Center. Give me 10 seconds on that. Why is the Roberts Center significant?
The Roberts Center for Leadership, Education, Advancement, and Development. It's really a lot at the heart of Crumley Roberts. It's the home of all of our community programs, including Crumley Roberts Kids Zone, Crumley Roberts Employee Wellness, the Little Red Jumpsuit Tour, the scholarship programs. Please log on to crumleyroberts.com to check out our scholarships.
Hey, that was my job. I wanted to say log on to crumleyroberts.com. And you already said
log
it.
on twice.
Well, now it's on twice. Now it's at crumleyroberts.com. No, I'm just kidding. Hey, you know, thanks for all you do for the community, and congratulations on the anniversary.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you so much.
We'll be right back. Today, this is both an exciting and a sad segment. 18 years ago, when we went on the air with Triad Today, our first sponsor was True Liant Federal Credit Union. The CEO, Mark Schaefer. He is still CEO, but not for long, because he's stepping down at the end of the year. And I say thanks to him for many reasons, for his service, but also he's right here with us, and we want to talk about the last 25 years a little bit. Next to me, Mark Schaefer, CEO, True Liant Federal Credit Union. Good to see you.
Good to see you, Jim.
And of course, your successor, our good friend Todd Hall, who's been on the show before. He'll be taking over the reins, and we wish him well on that. As you and I have both grown older and grayer, tell me how the credit union movement has changed.
Well, I would kind of say society has come to the credit union model. People want to do business with organizations that have their best interests at heart, that are their neighbors, that they're part of their community. And so I think credit unions are an idea whose time has come.
Because they're different from, and I don't mean to lecture at folks, but they're different from banks. I mean, if you had to give a paragraph, what's the difference?
We don't have stockholders, so we're accountable directly to the member. Our goal is to improve their lives, not make a profit off of the member.
Now, our friend Heath sent me an email about this because I'm bad with figures, and I looked at it to make sure I was reading this right. 25 years ago, or not 25 years ago, but I guess when you took over, I guess that same year.
25 years ago.
Yeah, $400 million in assets for Truliant. It's now $2.6 billion now. What has driven that growth, other than your personality?
I think trust. Members trusting us to help them build their financial foundations. So their trust in allowing us to help them make better decisions so that they reach their goals, both in terms of being careful how they borrow and being careful how they save so that they build a financial foundation for themselves and their families for the future.
Now this question that I want to ask you, you've already partially answered it, but everything to you needs to be member-centric in this. Mm-hmm. But the thing is, how does that culture that you've created with member-centric, how does that manifest itself in day-to-day operations, day-to-day treatment of customers and whatever? I mean, how do you put your finger on that?
Well, it's about discovering who the member is and what is in their best interest to improve their life, not trying to sell them product to make a profit. We know of one notable financial institution that had a reputation for selling people things they didn't need to make profit. And
let's go ahead and mention them. No, we won't do that.
And they rewarded their employees for that. We reward our employees for understanding and meeting member needs and actually fulfilling those needs. So we have many processes like the True Financial Checkup and other ways to get at what the consumer needs and exactly what they need and nothing more. And not to, I'll give you an example. You come in for a $50,000 car loan, you leave with a $25,000 car loan, perfectly nice Camry, and an education fund for your children, or maybe $25,000 towards your retirement.
Which is best for your situation in that.
Exactly.
All right, very quickly, before time gets away from us, I want to sort of pick at you about something. We've talked about the growth. We've talked about now you're in 3 states. You didn't used to be in 3 states. All right, what happens though? Can this growth be going too, can you get too big and you're going to forget to look after me as a person, or what?
That's a very good question, Jim, but I often refer to Navy Federal, the largest credit union in the United States. If you go to Navy Federal, you're going to feel like a member, over, I don't know, several million members. So as long as you don't forget, as long as we keep that culture and we remind everybody that works at Truliant, and the members remind us that we're there for one purpose, and that is to improve their life. And so we don't take our eye off that ball, because otherwise we're just mid-sized to small banks.
Yeah.
And we don't need any more banks. We got plenty of banks. So we can't take our eye off that ball.
And the final thing is you've been very involved in your career and in encouraging employees to be very involved in the community, both collectively and individually. You know, cancer services and various walks, and also, why has that always been important to you?
Well, we are the community. Our members live, work, worship, go to school in the community, and so that's our members. So we have to help those organizations be successful to serve them. And just a quick shout out to you and your program all these years, a great public service, particularly in this time of political polarization, to have an objective view of things that we don't see much. I don't see it anywhere. And this program, you mentioned 18 years. You've been providing an incredible community service by providing an objective view of the communities and the views within those communities. So a shout out and a thank you to you.
Well, I appreciate that. Thanks for all your service, Mark, and don't be a stranger.
Thank you.
All right. We'll be right back after this. Now on Triad Today, just about time for the roundtable. I guess it's like a holiday edition. No, we have more shows before. More shows before the Christmas holiday. We can still be festive, though. I mean, look at that tie Ogie's got on. I mean, he's festive, a little Christmas tie. Next to me on my right, but always the political and festive left, Ogie Elverman, the great broadcaster journalist. Next to him, back from Hawaii and well-rested, Dr. Don Martin, who is Vice Chair of the Forsyth County Commissioners and Professor at High Point University. And speaking of a traveling man, we're lucky he's here. He's usually gone somewhere helping people, but he's here today helping us. Keith Granberry, founder of Helping Hands Consultants. Guys, there are currently over 700,000 convicted felons not allowed to vote here in North Carolina until their entire sentence is complete. And that includes time on parole. So say you get 10 years in prison, they let you out after 7, you got 3 years in parole. Now a Durham-based group is challenging that law in court. They think that felons ought to be able to vote while they're on parole. Ogie, your thoughts?
My view is that once you walk out of that prison, you've paid your debt to society, you should have full rights restored, including voting.
Even on parole?
Even on parole.
Don Martin?
I can support that too. No problem with that.
Keith?
Totally agree. I mean, the judicial system is such that people stay on parole a very long time after they get out of prison, and I think it's wrong for them to have to not have rights to vote and all the privileges that U.S. citizens have once they pay their rights to society.
But not vote while in prison?
No, can't. No.
All right. Residents in Amelia County, Virginia want their county to be declared a Second Amendment sanctuary so that police would be prohibited from enforcing any new laws on gun ownership. Good idea or bad idea, guys? And would you like to see a Second Amendment sanctuary established in this state? Ogie Overland.
I can't think of many worse laws. This law is so blatantly unconstitutional. Even this conservative Supreme, they won't even hear this case, Jim. That's so wrong.
Don Martin.
Well, I think it's a symbolic gesture is what it is. It's got to get a point. So, but I clearly think we have a constitution. If you disagree with a state law that is regulating something, you can appeal that to ultimately to the U.S. Supreme Court, and they make the determination. So.
Mr. Granberry.
The symbolism of this is that people want to skirt the Second Amendment laws and Constitution. I think is wrong. And if we start allowing that to happen, what else is going to happen?
All right, I'll tell you what's about to happen. The town of Garner, North Carolina, has canceled its annual Christmas parade because town officials fear that a float by the Sons of Confederate Veterans might, let me say this again, might cause disruption. It's important to note that there have been no threats of violence or protests, but officials say the parade was called off because of what has been happening nationwide around statues and things. So it's sort of a three-part question. You can tackle any part you want. Are you okay with the cancellation of the parade? Did the town overreact? Or is this a sad commentary on freedom of speech? Mr. Overman.
Well, it's sad. It's very sad. I hate it that it has to come to that. I personally would not allow them in the parade. But if they're in there, I wouldn't cancel it. Jamestown they had their parade Sunday, and there's these yahoos out there in Confederate uniforms shooting their long rifles. Well, I wouldn't allow them in there, but they didn't. There was no problem with it. I mean, people didn't protest.
No, but Don, you're a government official. Why can't you keep people like that out, or does that open you up for a lawsuit?
Well, it's a public parade, and basically, unless you have some rule or insurance thing, it's not some criteria that's not being met, you have to let everybody who meets the criteria participate.
Keith?
I think that they should allow them to be in the parade. And why? Because people need to see people who are spewing these type of behaviors publicly. You know, a lot of times it's been private and secret. The public needs to see people like that so they'll understand what is going on in today's society and how they can change it.
All right, so you want to let them in the parade
Absolutely.
and not cancel it?
No.
Yep.
All right, California has enacted a new law that will force publicly held companies to put women on their board of directors. Companies that don't comply will be fined $100,000 for the first offense, $300,000 fine for subsequent violations if they don't put women on their board. Now, these are not private companies, but publicly held companies. Would you like to see North Carolina pass that same kind of law, which could put more women on more boards of publicly held companies? Ogie.
You know, I'm an equality guy, Jim, but I don't see it. I think it's going too far. I mean, we should implore people to have women, but as a matter of course, why wouldn't you have women on your board anyway? I mean, it doesn't make much sense to force them, though, you know?
I do not think that should happen for this simple reason. If you happen to be the only woman on the board, everybody's going to think you're the token woman. Mm-hmm. You're the token woman on this, so that's the only reason you're here.
And I think, Keith, I think they said something like in California, and by the way, this is being challenged in the court, so it may not stand eventually, but they're saying like if you're a publicly held company and you have 6 people on the board, you got to have 3 women. So what's your reaction to all this?
I think sometimes you have to force change. And sometimes, you know, not only women, but minorities on boards. It gives us a different variety of what the companies need. And also the people who are buying their products. So I think sometimes you have to force. So I think this rule, while I think it's tough, it should be upheld for right now, because sometimes change has to be forced.
Do you think that you'd like to see it done in North Carolina?
Absolutely.
And, you know, it could lead to, you know, lessening the pay gap between men and women, too, if you get more women on the board. Okay, well, finally, a South African distillery is now selling gin that is made from elephant feces. The company says the drink is healthy and tasty. Guys, have you ever consumed an alcoholic beverage made with poop? Ogie.
I can't honestly say that I haven't.
But you don't know. You don't know for sure.
There was a time where I would have probably drank anything that had alcohol in it.
Don Martin.
Well, I just came back from Hawaii, and the word poo-poo means cocktail. I mean, sort of appetizer. So maybe.
So you might have. You don't know what you drank down there.
Exactly.
Keith Granberry, would you drink an alcoholic beverage with poop in it?
No, but I've been around people full of poop.
Well, I hope you weren't looking over here.
No.
No, I hope you weren't looking this direction. Well, that's all the time we have. Oh, except for this. Last week, Border Patrol agents seized a shipment of 20,000 counterfeit toothbrushes. No word yet on who planned the toothbrush caper, said one frustrated officer. It's like pulling teeth to get anyone to talk. You understand what he's trying to get at, Ogie? All right, for all that. What do you mean, Don?
He's actually booing you.
Yeah, Don. You know, Don hasn't had this attitude until he came back from Hawaii.
He's got a tan too. Look at his tan.
I know. For all of us here on Triad Today, I'm Jim Longworth. We'll see you next week.